Okay, hello. Sorry about that, I just had to let the door, open the door for Hazel. Okie doke. Let's have a see where we are. Okay, I've got a good few of you here already, so it's lovely to have you here. Let's just see if everyone can see me. And you can hear me okay? Let's have a see. There's lots of names I recognise there, so hopefully you can all hear me. Let's just have a quick wait if someone can give me a thumbs up. Hi Helen, how are you? Are you there? Can you just let me know you can hear me okay before I get to chatting? Hi Patricia. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Beverly. Great. It's always a relief when I know that you can all hear and see me okay. Now I can continue. Brilliant. Thank you, Linda. Lovely. I think my computer's been a bit slow with the comments coming up there. Okie doke. Right. So we have hi Lorraine. Hi Evelyn. Hi Chris. And Jane and Valerie. And who is out in the garden with their washing? It's Evelyn. You got a lovely spring day, have you? We had a lovely spring day yesterday. It's warm today, but it's gone grey again. I just want a little bit of sun. A little bit of sun for more than one day at a time would just be really lovely. I've got lots of things I want to do in the garden. And just have a little potter about out there as well. Oh, that's all right, Rebecca. I answer to most things, Rebecca. That's fine. Hi, Jasmine. Hi, Bonnie. Oh, thank you, Bonnie. Last week was... What was I using last week? Was it the compositions, wasn't it, last week? With the hearts and bows, if I remember right. I'm actually going to bring that set in again today and just use one element of it, because what I want to do today is use the paper strips with you, which is this week's pick of the week. Pick of the week is launched not every Monday, but if we're having a pick of this particular week, then it'll be launched on Monday morning, and it continues on all week until the following Sunday at midnight. Now, Lisa got a little bit ahead of herself, and I do believe it appeared on the website on Sunday. I don't think she could help herself. But this is the pick of the week. It's the paper strips, and it's also the digital downloads that go alongside this, which allow you to print out all the sentiments, which you can then go ahead and die cut. Are you overcast in Suffolk? Are you, Beverly? Yeah, oh, you're pretty much sharing the weather that we have here then. Weather isn't perfect, it's good for card making. Exactly, Linda. When it's not sunny, it makes you feel a little bit better sitting at your desk and crafting, doesn't it? When it's sunny, you feel like you should be out doing things. Okay, so yeah, today I'm using the paper strips, and I'm going to be bringing in some of the fundamental dies and also the composition dies. So I'll just show you how you can sort of mix and match. Obviously, there's so much more that you can do with them other than what I'm going to do today, and I've also already got an idea that how I might use them for next week as well. So along with the fundamentals and the compositions, which I think were going to work perfectly with all of Lisa's layering stencils, you'll be seeing the design team using these in various ways, whether it be to lesser or greater extent in most of their projects, I would say. So this set that comes through, I'm going to show you now. It's an A6 envelope, so it's one of the smaller packaging, so it's really the cute little one. You get 2 dies, okay, 2 substantial dies actually, and when I turn these over, you will see how these are constructed. So let's put it this way around. This die here will cut you all of these different strips here. So we have, actually I'll count them the other way around. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This will give you 14 thin dies, and this will give you 7 of the thicker dies, or paper strips. Now I've already cut my strips for the project. So what I'm going to do now this is for a project a little bit later on, which I'm hoping I will get to, if I don't chat for too long with you, that is. So I've also downloaded some of the downloadable papers that are on Lisa's website. Now this is a lovely orange one. It's looking a little bit peachy on your screen there, but it's lovely orange, and it's got the pink, no, it hasn't got pink polka dots at all. I'll be launching onto a song in a bit, won't I? Now this has got the black polka dots on it as well, if you can see there. So these are lovely papers, and these come in 6 different colours. So this particular die here, almost give myself the giggles now. Oh dear. Right, so this die here will cut you the thicker of the paper strips, like so, and they actually come out all lined up together like this, and obviously you can separate them for yourself, as you can see there. Now if I bring in a ruler, I can let you know, actually it's written on the packaging here, that this die, which cuts the thicker strips, each of the strips is 10 millimeters wide, so that's a centimeter in width, and the length of the dies, and therefore the paper strips themselves, are 15 centimeters, so they fit perfectly onto your A6 cards with a little bit of wiggle room as well, so if you need to cut them down. Now the other die, let's just bring that across like so. Let's arrange these so don't run out of space. Now this die cuts you the thinner strips, and these strips are 5 millimeters wide, so they are literally half the width of what you have here. So that's 5 millimeters, so it's half a centimeter. And as I say, you get 14 of these, so you can see all of those strips come there. So you actually do an awful lot of die cutting. You can actually do these in one pass as well, if on the smaller die cutting machine. So if you have Lisa's die cutting machine with the is it the A5 plates here, I'll just show you that both of these dies fit onto one plate, so you can cut all of these strips all at once, because you'll be able to fit those dies side by side and put them through your die cutting machine. So if you do have Lisa's die cutting machine and you have these strips, as well as the fundamentals and the compositions, you're going to be putting the machine through its paces and really working it hard, because Lisa has brought out some sort of real workhorses of dies for you. Yeah, so you can make the most of that pretty machine. So that's the dies spoken through, so you can see now what they're capable of. Now obviously I've just cut these in the one color. Once you start introducing all your different other paper colors, this is for another card. Now that looks peach as well. This is actually a nice bright yellow. I'm not quite sure what's gone on with my color there. And then we have the green, so this is a margarita green, so you're actually going to get a little bit of not a true representation of the colors there, but they do still work on screen. So when I photograph these later, you'll see the difference. But yeah, you can cut an awful lot of strips really quick with these. Now you notice these ones are still sort of attached together. They pull apart really easily, so it's literally just how the fibers sort of have allowed the strips to sort of stay contained once they come out of the die. Now these are Lisa's downloadable papers. I print them onto Lisa's super smooth cardstock, and my printer allows me to print that. And actually I had to change the ink for that today as well, so I haven't printed out quite as many as I would have liked to today. To say the ink needed refilling, and it's a newish printer, and it's the first time I'd done that, so that took up a little bit of my time this morning. So let's move those aside. So also along with the pick of the day, you have the opportunity, and you can see on the side there that you have the digital downloads for the paper strips, and you basically get 44 sheets of A4 pages, which allow you to download all of the black and white sentiments that we have here. Now, I've downloaded the black and white ones. I haven't downloaded all the colour ones, as I say, my printer ran out of ink, but I did download all of the black and white ones we have here. Now, you'll see from these printed out sheets that you have two different sizes. You have the ones with the smaller sentiments on here, and this means that you can die cut all of these sentiments out all in one go with the die with the thinner strips, so they correspond and they'll line up. Now, I'll do this a little bit later for you. I haven't actually done this myself yet. Then you have another set of sentiments. Again, these are the black versions, or the black and white version. So we have the white text on the black background, and we have the black text on the white background. Make sure I say that the right way around. And again, you have two sheets of each. So these larger sentiments, the black and the white versions, are both the same. And then on the smaller text versions, again, you have the black background and the white background. And again, both of versions are going to have the same sentiments. And you have two. Oh, obviously, there we go. You obviously have two sheets of each version there as well, and two different texts as well by the looks of it. So we have these sentiments here are in a bolder text, and these are in a less bold, but a slightly different version of the text as well. So you actually have an awful lot of variation. You also have the downloads in all the colours. So you have the blue, the green, and again, I haven't printed all of these out this time, but I have just sort of printed the colours for you. You have the pink version, the hot pink version, and the lilac. So these are the lovely colours. Now, if you remember and did watch my live from last week, these were the colours that the coordinating downloads for the composition dies are in as well. There is another set of colours that if you do go for this particular pick of the week download, it is called, they are the bold summer colours, I think they are, and they are really rich, like emerald, jewel tone colours as well. As I say, I wasn't able to print those out, unfortunately, but you'll see them if you follow the if you perhaps scan the QR code there, that gives you a direct link to the pick of the week, which will show you the die and also the downloads there as well. And when you click on the downloads, it will show you all the colours and all the different combinations of the sentiments that are available to you. So, but that's well worth getting. I think I can't remember the price of it now, but it's well worth getting. And obviously, once you've got the download once, you can download them as many times as you want, which is perfect. So you'll never really want for another sentiment again. So I think what I'll do, I'm going to get crafting. There's some of the demos may be a little bit sort of time consuming. I shall do my best to get through them for you, but I just want to give you some ideas, as well as the ideas that are coming into the Crafting with Lisa Horton group, the Facebook group, obviously from the design team, but also some from some of you also. You've received these already and are already playing. So this first demo, what I wanted to do was bring in the fundamentals, the nested octagons. And I wanted to show you that you can perhaps do some sort of patchwork design with these. Now, I have patchwork. I'm not going to say I have a background in patchworking, but I have made quilts. I love sewing. I love piecing together and making larger patchwork quilts. I've actually made one for my mum and my sister as well. Yet to make one for myself. I just need to find the time. But having cut the strips, this is the first thing that sort of came to my head with how you can use them, because it is very reminiscent of how you cut up your fabric strips and your fat quarters to actually make your quilting pieces. So you can make up any design, and then what with the octagons as well, it really is like a patchwork made in heaven. You don't have to use octagons, you can use squares or nested squares, the small squares if you have them as well, you know, have a play. But this is just sort of a little taster just to get you started. So what I've done, I've downloaded the papers and I've used the blue and just some of the textured white cardstock, some of Lisa's textured white cardstock, and I've die cut both types of card in the wider strips and also in the thinner strips here. Now what I want to do initially, to create your octagons, you need to create your pattern. So I've taken just a spare piece of card actually, and I have loads of these offcuts of Lisa's card, which is too big to throw away, but obviously too small to stencil and create a big project on. So these are perfect pieces to use to back your strips onto, you see. So what we can do is just, and I'll show you how I put these together. I can use my glue. Now I did use glue for this. Now what I've discovered, the less glue for this, the better. You can use obviously your red liner tape as well, depending on what thickness that you have. I've got the two different thicknesses, and there will be times when I use these strips and I will definitely secure them down with the red liner tape. I've also used adhesive sheets, double-sided as adhesive sheets, the stick to ones, which I think Lisa, I know she did have them on a website at one stage, because this is where I got my ones from. And I will be using these later on as well, but these are quite useful for these strips also. But you can't go wrong with your handy and trusted glue, particularly with the fine nozzle glue guns here. So I'm going to start creating my stripy fabric, as it were, the pattern. Now what you'll notice, I've just put one really thin line of glue on the back. What you don't want to do, I don't think, is to actually saturate the back of these strips with glue, particularly when you're going on to die cut them, because if you were to put too much glue on the back and then die cut them straight away, all the glue would actually seep out onto or in between these strips when you die cut them with another shape, for example, and that will ruin the look. So if you're patient enough, then obviously it would be a good idea to allow that glue to dry. Or, as I found this morning, actually, just put the slimmest or just the least amount of glue that you possibly can onto your strip in the center. It then means that you can pretty much die cut these straight away. Now what you can, oh, that doesn't really work with white on white, does it? There we are. But what you can see I'm doing here, I have all my strips in front of me. Now obviously I've already done this. This is, if I hold this up, you can see the joins between this. This stripe here is actually made up of a thin blue stripe and a thicker blue stripe. So you know, you can absolutely mix and match that way. But then you can see from this one here that I've already die cut out, I had a slightly different pattern. Now in hindsight I should have done them both the same actually, but I was just having too much fun playing actually. But what you can see that I'm doing here, you just lay them down next to each other, and because of the accuracy of the die cut, you have a lovely, almost a beveled edge to the die cut, which allows you to line them up to the next die seamlessly, and perfectly. Now, obviously, I'm not pattern matching here, which if you was perhaps using a patterned backing paper, then you'd have to be a little bit more, or maybe you wouldn't actually, but you know, a bit like wallpaper, you know, it depends up to you. But it really does mean they sit so lovely next to each other. They create like a real seamless seam next to each other, basically, and you can just line them up and just butt them up against each other. Oh, like so. Now I'm obviously lining these up so close next to each other, so they are really sort of really tight, but you don't have to. You can leave a little gap. You can perhaps use, like I was doing with a couple of weeks ago, you could come in and use a spacer. Okay, so you can just put a strip down there, not glue that in, and then you can come in with your next piece. If you wanted to leave a gap, if I would put glue on the back of that, you could then put that in and then remove your spacer, and then you have a nice equal gap in between. If you was using a different coloured backing card, but perhaps that'd be something that you might want to do. But again, it's an option. It's giving you that chance just to have a play and be unique, because you can guarantee that if any of you try this particular technique with the patchworking and cutting out the hexagons here, you're going to come up with a completely different order of strips and different colors, and then you'll die cut them in, you know, different ways. You know, it's never going to turn out the same. Okay, the stream slowed down for a few seconds. So, oh, is everything working okay? It's gone a bit fuzzy. Oh, it could be the weather. I think I'm working from this end. Okay, so what you can see there basically now, I've just created a background that is basically a new design paper. I could continue on and I could make as bigger area of this as I wanted and just carry on adding strips. What I don't need to do that for this particular one. That's exactly how I made these two pieces, and you can see that I went on to start die cutting these to create my octagons to go on here. Now, again, once you cut out your octagons, if you make them all the same, then obviously you've got that opportunity to create some form of regular patchwork, or you can make them all completely different. Like these ones are all the same, and if I were to line them up like this, then we have a nice pattern going on. We could bring in something different. We can line them up like so. Now, really, I should have had a fourth one that matched along with this, but that didn't work out quite the same. We could line them up like that, and then you can add a sentiment on top. You know, there is lots and lots of different ways to do this. Now, I do have an odd one there, but I'm going to make that work somehow. We're going to line them up like so. Perhaps put that one like that like that, so we make sure that they all look different. And what I will do, I will die cut another one here just to prove that the die cut works through them. So I'm going to take the fundamental die. Actually, I'll cut another two because I can't work out if I want to use a smaller one or not. So I'm going to use the two smallest of the dies, and I'm going to cut a second one that works along with that. Okay, so I'm doing this on my small machine, obviously, because I'm only using the small dies. Let's run that through. Now, this means that you have a whole different outlook to card making, particularly for, if you know someone who enjoys sewing, or if you know someone who enjoys patchwork quilting. You could even try and emulate a quilt that they may have made for you. You can make quilts in their favourite colours. It's also a really lovely way to use up all your scraps. Okay, so I'll just run that one through as well. Okay, so you can see that once we start die cutting those, they take on a completely different form. What we have here has taken on a completely different form to our paper strips here. So it just shows you how versatile they can be. So now I have an abundance of rectangles, so I could perhaps do something like that, or I could add that one in the middle. Actually, I quite like the look of that. That's the way I'm going to do that, I think. So this really is just a case of playing. You can either sit down with an idea and have a clear vision of how you're going to do this, or you can just cut strips, put them together, and then see what you come up with. So this is just going to be a super simple card, and I just have a piece of textured cardstock that I'm just going to use as a backing. Now I am using smaller cards today. I'm using A6 cards, mainly because they're quite quick for me to make for you as opposed to a larger project. But you know, I do like square cards. All of these projects can easily be scaled up to fit any size card as well. So let's rearrange my hexagons back on there like so. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to glue these straight down and use a foam pad on the one that's going to sit on top of them. Let's line those up properly. And again, very much like the composition dies and the fundamental dies, you can make your cards or projects as simple or as straightforward as you like with these, but it really does lend itself to making those quick, easy cards. And also there'll be a design a little later on, but these are actually ideal for craft clubs as well, or if you craft with children. I think they can have an awful lot of fun and use an awful lot of imagination crafting this way. So I'm just going to put a 3D foam pad in the center there. Yeah, I'm going to put that way around, I think. And we have quite an unusual look. Again, depending on the colours that you use as well. I think you could possibly make cards for the guys with this too. Perhaps if you're using die cut with circles or rectangles or squares, I think that would work really lovely. Okay. Now what I will do, I also want to just add this strip along the bottom. So I'm just going to measure that up. I don't do anything fancy. I'll just eyeball it and then make a pencil mark there. And this is going to be the background for a sentiment. So I'm just going to trim that down to size. Take off the excess there, so I really only want the paper strips. So I'll just line it up like so. So this can just tie in the rest of the card together, so I can put that there. Right, I shall take away that slide there, but I will put that back up at the end so you know what it is that I'm using. And then I'm going to bring in the sentiments. So I think what I might, oh, which way around? Now I've got choices, and you know what I'm like with choices. I think what I might do, I'm going to take one of these ones, the black and white ones. I'm just having a little look at the words that are on there. I think I'm going to go for the ones with the bolder sentiments on for this particular sentiment. I'm going to bring out my scissors. Actually, I think what I'll do to start with, because what you can see here on these downloads are the sentiments have been grouped into 3 rectangles, and basically each of these groups will represent one die cut for one of the dies. So these particular sentiments are the smaller ones, so we will be using the thinner of the strips here. Okay, and I'm going to go, let's have a quick look. So our sentiments, actually, Lisa and others worked really hard to put an awful lot of choice on here for you. So there is pretty much a sentiment for, or words for, every occasion. So a lot of these also will work for your scrapbooking as well, and your journaling. So you have your celebratory ones. So we have a fabulous, have a wonderful, wishing you. Then you got wonderful day, celebrate the day. You're 1 in a million on your wedding day, sending bunches of love, congratulations. Then we have a fabulous birthday, have a wonderful birthday, wishing you the happiest of days. This one here, we have things like celebrate small victories, life is better with friends, let the sun shine in, never forget, you know, so perfect for your journaling and your any layouts, scrapbook layouts you may be doing as well. Right, so you can see here that we have a reference mark around the outside of the die. Now I'm just going to turn this around. Hopefully you can see. If I line this up with the outside reference rectangle, just top and bottom, you'll see where all of the sentiments actually do line up with all of those paper strips there. So that should give you the confidence of how to line up on the 2 longest lengths. Okay, and then you just need to make sure that your die, again, is central and lines up with either end as well. Now, I think it's definitely worth securing your die in place before you run this through your die cutting machine, because obviously with words involved, you're die cutting for a reason. You want your words to be lined up. Now, if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world, is it? Because you do have the download there, and you are able to download these as many times as you need. So I've just secured that in place, and I'm just going to take that to the die cutting machine now. Okay. And this is the first time that I've actually done this as well. So if this isn't lined up, then it'll be purely user error on my part. So I'm just going to take off there. Okay, so what you can see now, that the dies are die cut perfectly, as I know that they would. So if I take away the outside there, we now have our strips with our sentiments. I do need, because my plates are so worn, they get really stuck on the plate once I've die cut them on there. So I just need a little bit of help taking them off. There we go. Perfect. So you can see now, if I lift up one of these strips, this particular strip has got 2 sentiments on there. Apologies, that's actually quite small, isn't it? I don't think my other camera's working at them, or is it? My other camera working? Let's see if I can turn that on. Okay, bear with me. There we are. And I think we're zoomed in, because what I can do for you actually is bring this up to the camera. There you go. You can see that this one lined up perfectly. It has 2 sentiments on there, so you just trim these down to size, obviously. But oh no, I'll keep that steady so that keeps in focus. So you have already, just with one pass of the die cutting machine, all of these sentiments ready to use. Now it's going to be so worth die cutting these and then having an envelope or plastic pouch or something just to keep all of these safe, because you're not going to use them all in one go. But what you can do is now choose which of your sentiments you're going to use in your card there. And I like the fact that they are small and they are discreet. These ones in particular, obviously if you go for the larger dies, they're going to be larger sentiments. But there really is something for everyone. And I can put that onto there. I might even turn that around. Everything's all lined up. Everything's all neat. Everything all works with each other, and it looks as if it's just meant to be. So that is now a finished card. I can put a little bow on there, a little heart or something just to finish that off. But that is just a super simple card, and lots of possibilities, because as I say, change the strips, change the papers, change the colours. This one particular style of card, there is so many ways to adapt that. And you can see now I have all of these sentiments ready to use, and that was just one group of sentiments from one of the A4 sheets, of which you have 44 to download if you go for the pick of the day. Sorry, pick of the week. Pick of the week. So you have until Sunday evening before the price on those will change. So that's an introduction to the card or the paper strips. One really easy way to use them. So I'm now going to bring in, I should go overhead. That's one card there. I have to make sure I keep my desk tidy, because there's going to be an awful lot going on. Now the second card, a second idea that we can come in. I'm using the same colours again. I'm having a bit of a blue and white morning, I must admit. So let's move out. So we have the fundamentals we've used there, which are still relatively new dies as well. We have the compositions. Now I'm only going to be using 3 of the dies from this actually. I should be using the pink rectangle that's sitting there and the bow. And I'm using the same strips. These are still the same strips as I cut to use the for the patchwork quilt there. So, but these ones I had left over. So I've started to do some paper weaving, which is another really lovely way that you can use paper strips. So to get these started, I'll show you. I've already got these sort of underway, because this is quite time consuming and I just wanted to get it going. But I started this off with 2 strips. I started it off with the thick strip that I have there. Let me bring in a piece of black card, just so we can see what we're doing. There we go. I started off with the 2 thick strips, the white strip here and this strip here, which I've already cut in half. To begin that, I just glued these together. That's the easiest way to do it. You can use a tiny little bit of tape, but just in this tiny little section here, I glued this piece and this piece. Now, let me see if I'll just work these way down a little bit. And then once I started off with those 2 strips, I then started gluing all of the vertical pieces to start with. So the next strip down from the blue one, I added a white one. It doesn't have to be. This is where you can start using your imagination with colours and the widths and whatever. But I just sort of went random with what I had. Because I put the blue strip initially underneath the white one here, the next vertical strip sits on top of this one here. Then we have a blue strip going down, and I actually glued that behind this one. So then you'll just alternate. So you can see here, white strip sits on top, the next strip sits underneath. The next white strip sits on top, the next blue strip, vertical blue strip is thicker, you glue underneath, and you just sort of alternate going down. So what you'll end up with, if you ignore the horizontal ones here, you have your strips and then you have all of your vertical ones like this. Okay, so you imagine you'd have your strip along the top here. You'd have one on top, one underneath, one on top, one underneath. So you basically alternate, and that is how you would start your paper weaving. Then you're left with your vertical strips, and then this is when you can start adding the horizontal ones, so the left to right ones afterwards. Obviously you continue along with as wide as a project as you need. I know that I only want to die cut this size, so I only went as far and as wide as this die needs me to, basically. So I know I'm only weaving a small area for these paper strips. So now I start adding the strips and actually doing creating the weave. So I've got most of them set in there. You can push them closer together. I don't think at this stage it necessarily needs to. What I will do is add a couple more strips just so you can see the process. I'm going to turn it this way because it will make it a little bit easier. So the next one I'm going to down, you need to do opposite to the strip above it. So you can see the last strip here is this blue one. It sits underneath here. So therefore, when we bring this strip in, we want it to sit over the top. And it's that sets the tone. So we go over the top of the first strip. So therefore we go under the second strip, over the third, under the fourth, over the fifth, and just continue on like that. That's how you get that basket weave look. Now, apologies if you've already done this before, but I know that there will be people who are new to this, haven't even tried this, not quite sure how to get started with paper weaving. It's a lovely, lovely look. So you can just bear with me and we can get that sorted. So I'm going to add one more before I finish this particular project off. Now I am going to start from the other side this time, for no other reason than it means I don't have to turn the project around. Now if you start introducing lots more colours again with this, you're going to get so many different more variations. And again, the possibilities are endless. There is just so many ways that you can create like this. So there we are. That is basically going to give me enough of an area for me to die cut that rectangle. Now before I do that, I do need to secure some of these down because otherwise it'll all fall apart. So what I want to do is just with my glue, I'm just going to just secure the end pieces. I don't need to glue the whole strip. And in fact, what I will do in a second is use some of this sticky back adhesive there, or the double-sided adhesive, just to secure all this together. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm just tying up those loose ends with a little bit of glue. Okay. Again, apologies if you've already done this, but I think it's really nice to be inclusive and say there's all sorts of people who perhaps haven't done this before. And I know, you know, sometimes with paper, particularly when you paper sculpting like this, you look at something and it doesn't always register how it was created. I know sometimes I can look at something and it can be the simplest form, but if you don't know how to get started, sort of the whole project seems quite a mystery to you. So all I'm doing there is just tying off those loose ends with a tiny little bit of glue, and these glue pens are absolutely perfect for that because you can be quite precise with where you're placing that glue. Now I'm not going to do any more of that. I don't need to add any more glue on. What I'm going to do is take some of the double-sided plastic, which I've already cut to size, and I'm just going to put that, and I'm going to seal all of those edges at the back, basically. That way I know that everything is going to be held in place. So it's double-sided adhesive, so I'm just going to take off one of the pieces of, there we are, just folded a corner there. Now to do this, all I'm doing is going to just expose a corner of the adhesive and use the rest of this area, which is not sticky at this stage, to line up and make sure I get this in place. So that means I'm not sort of committing myself. You see, I've got the movement there. I'm not committing myself to the adhesive at this stage until I know that it is absolutely in place, which I'm happy with it there. So I'm going to hold the area. This is the area that is adhesive, so I'm going to secure that down. Now I can take my finger away because I've secured the sticky area, and it means I can just pull away that backing paper, and it will sit nice and smoothly on the back there. So I suppose in effect what we're doing is creating a sticker. So I can turn that around, and I know that on the reverse here all of that weaving has been secured together. And I think what I'll do, I don't need to trim that at this stage. I think what I'll do, I am going to trim away these sections here now. I know I don't need those. Now the beauty of these strips is that although these are just shorter than what you would normally die cut, they're still completely usable. So stick these in the little storage pocket or envelope or wherever you're going to store them. Stick them and store them. They'll be perfect for another project. So what I can do now, I can actually die cut this. I'm going to again secure that in place. So this is the die from the composition set. So bear with me 2 ticks. Okay, I'll just come back to you. I just had to run that through a couple of times. Now what you'll find if you do use a double-sided adhesive is that you might not necessarily cut the adhesive itself, or you'll cut the backing, but you will cut the actual project with the cardstock, which is what has happened here. So I'm going to take away that outside area. I'm going to take away that die. We have our die cut, and then I can take off the adhesive backing on the back of that die cut there. Oh, there we go. So we have a sticker. We have our die cut. Oh, that's super sticky. That sticks to adhesive is super sticky. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add that to a piece of cardstock just so as I have a little bit of control over where I'm placing that. So what I can now do, I need to use my scissors or my trimmer. Actually, what I could have done is die cut this. I didn't think about that. I'm just going to trim around the outside. Yeah, what I should have done, actually, this piece of card, I should have die cut, but that's okay. I can just trim around the outside. So now we have our paper strip weaved or basket woven embellishment that can sit on the front of our card. And again, this is just a simple card. I'm just using the blue spotty paper, which is the background for the card. So I'm basically going to line the front of the card blank completely with the blue paper. I've used a nesting rectangle to die cut the textured cardstock. And again, that is just going to go simply on the front also. You can line that up again. Very simple card making, simple layered card making. And then we can put our embellishment on the front like so. Now it's slipped a little bit there, but that actually doesn't matter. I don't mind that too much. So the actual weaving doesn't look as straight as it did initially, but you know what? I don't mind that at all. We can put that on the front. Now, because I'm using the compositions, again, I use that rectangle coming from there. The hearts and bows. If you'd have watched my live from last week, you would have seen how I create the bow with the vellum background and the white on the top, which is what I've done there. And that I can use to sit on the front of my basket weaving there. Again, something super simple. It is just really, really straightforward, but effective. And I love it in this blue and white. It just looks so fresh. So we can sit our bow on the front there. And then we can bring in our sentiment strips. The blue matches the blue from the polka dots there. So I shall choose a particular, what have we got going for here? Actually, what is good about these downloads also, you have all of the family members and the different the different nicknames that you were given. So you've got mother, mum, mom, or mam, depending on where you're from. So you got father, mum, dad, uncle, aunt, son, daughter, godfather, godmother, godson, better half, couple, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, cousin, family, partner, fiance, fiancée, neighbour, colleague, friend as well. So much there. So many things to choose, so many different varieties. And if there isn't something there, it might be a nice idea just to drop a little note into the group as a little suggestion. And then I'm sure either Lisa or Paola will pick that up and do their very best to incorporate it perhaps in another version of the downloads. So what I'm going to do is just separate my sentiments again. So these sentiments are the larger ones. So this time around we'll be using not the thinner of the paper strip dies. We're using the larger one. And what one am I going to go for? I'm going to go for this one because it's got the smaller happy birthday on there. But just like before, you just line up your die with the coloured background that's there. And just take a little bit of time for that. Make sure that the edges are also. I don't honestly think I might have printed these at something silly like 95% or 97%. So I'm not sure they're lining up as well as they should. But if you download, or when you come to print your downloads, make sure that you print them at actual size or 100%. There's a setting on your printer and depending on the computer that you'll use, that you'll see that. So make sure that it's on 100% or actual size, and then you won't go wrong when it comes to having them line up with your dies. Okay, so let's bring them in. So I did see in the comments there, actually, I'm not the, that Rebecca had said that the downloads work well with 160 GSM card as well, which is really nice to know. I was pleased that I'm able to print onto the 300 GSM super smooth cardstock from Lisa, because what that does, or gives me the peace of mind, that these sentiments work really nicely to layer up and use 3D foam on, and also use Lisa's glue without distorting them too much as well. So you can see there now that the dies have come out, or the die cuts have come out, and again they've lined up perfectly. So we have some of the strips actually will have two sentiments on them again. So all you need to do is just take your scissors just to snip those down, or snip them in half, and then you can just pop the rest of them away in an envelope for safekeeping. And then we have our sentiment that can just sit really nicely on the bottom of that card. And again, it's a similar look because I've used the same colours, but a very different style of card. So where are we with timing? Oh, no worry, Tina, you got carried away. Actually, I've got a little bit carried away. It's a little bit later than I hoped it would be. But what I want to do, if you can just bear with me a little bit. Lorraine, oh look, Lorraine agrees with the super smooth as well. Yeah, it prints lovely, actually. I was really impressed. It's the first time I've actually used downloads and things. My printer has never been good enough to, but when we needed to change our printer, I sort of made sure that I got one that could print cardstock, and I'm actually really pleased with the outcome. Now, if you can bear with me, I have a third design which is going to look totally different to those other ones that I've done, and it's just it's a very straightforward, but it's another way to use these strips. So if you have the adhesive backing, this would be a really nice way, nice project to use, but it's not essential. You can use glue as well. Hazel, stop being noisy. Okay, so what I'm going to do this time around, you can see that I've printed off the other colours, and it's really just a case of lining up these strips to create a background again. And now it's something that you may have seen Lisa do. She put a little wheel out as well. So I'm going to take some of the backing off the adhesive here, not all of it, because I'd just be dealing with too much stickiness then. But what I want to do, I'm to do something. Am I going to do straight, or am I going to go, oh, I don't know. Or straight across, or shall I go at an angle? No, I'm going to go straight across. Look, I'm terrible making decisions, aren't I? So basically what I've done, I have used both dies to die cut the thin strips and the thicker strips from these 3 different colours. Now what I'm going to do is to create a pattern and lay these straight onto the adhesive strip at the back. Now you saw me earlier on create this type of pattern using the glue. Now this makes this a lot quicker because we don't need to add the glue onto the back, but you do have to be quite confident when you're placing those strips, because once it hits that adhesive, there's no going back. But they are quite easy to line up. Actually, it's quite interesting how you're seeing the colours on the screen there. So what I'm doing, I'm just not thinking about it too much to create some sort of random pattern. Now I'm going random with the size of the strips that I'm using, I'm not necessarily the colour. I'm keeping the same colour pattern going along, but trying to just mix it up with the with the width of the strips that I'm doing. Okay, so yeah, as I'm talking about it, don't forget where I'm going. Now I could actually line these up better as well, so when I trim this down to the side, I could have more of a usable length of the adhesive of the strips on either side, but if I was doing this and you wasn't watching me, then I would possibly have thought about that more. But basically I'm just creating a background here. I'm using Lisa's downloaded papers, but this could easily be paper that you've created yourself, either with the interference inks or the metallic inks, either on black or white cardstock. You can do yourself like a smooshed ink background and then die cut those into strips and then repiece them together back in this way. You can use any of the design papers that you may have already from Lisa. Again, these are ideal to use up those smaller pieces that you don't quite know what to do with. What I hope to do, and hopefully I can get round to doing it next week, is use these paper strips in a project along with the some layering stencils as well, because we know that everything that Lisa brings out all coordinates with each other. So it would be nice if you can see some projects actually using them with the some floral layering stencils as well. I think that could be really interesting. So what you can see that I've done there, I now have a strip and a background sitting here made up of these coloured strips, of which I still have plenty left again, so they're going into a little storage envelope. I'm going to bring in another die, another really super simple die to use, one that I haven't used before actually, so this is a really nice way to use it. This is the Nested Birthday Celebrations die set, and again I'll put up the details on the slide at the end of this video. So I just want to create a background to these balloons really, and I'm going to use the rest of the dies to create a silhouette effect. So I've already die cut the actual details of the die in black that you can see here. Let me put them here, that you can see here. So that's using the rest of the dies, but there is one outline die, and that is what I'm going to use to die cut these strips. So I'm just going to take these to the die cutting machine. Now I just had to run it through a couple of times, but it's a really thin die, but you can see that it die cuts through those layers perfectly. So that's the excess, we don't need that, and it's left us with this background that's here. So actually this would be a lovely Easter project. That looks almost like an Easter egg, doesn't it? Not to worry, so I know I'm going on a little bit over time today, but I just wanted to get this last one finished for you. So I can just layer this up onto the card, and I shall piece this together in a little bit for you, but I just wanted you to see the effect with this. But yeah, this would make a lovely Easter card. If you put a sentiment straight through the center there, perhaps one of the bolder ones, but if you can put a sentiment, imagine that. Even just with a bow, one of the bows from this set here, from the hearts and bows, and then put yeah, a sentiment underneath, that would be lovely and straightforward, I think. But if I continue with the actual die itself, you can see that we have 3 other dies sitting here, and we have these the balloons silhouette that can go in the center like that. So there we are, we've got that, and we can create a really nice background for those balloons. So that'd be a really nice one to do for children maybe. And I think what I might do, that would look really nice if that was die cut in white as well against those orange. I think that would really make the colors behind it stand out. And then of course, again, just choose your sentiment and layer that across at some stage. But I'll get that finished, and I shall, oh, there we have a fabulous birthday. That would look lovely. Actually, if you even created this background with metallics and really make that background pop as well, I think that would also look fabulous. But I'll get this finished off, and I shall post that into the group as well, because I know I've kept you long enough as it is. But I just wanted to give you all of those different options, the different ways to use the paper strips. Now Cheryl did do a video yesterday also using the paper strips, and I think she used some gilding wax with it as well, so do check that out. There'll be lots of inspiration in the group, and again, I'm pretty sure that I'll be using these on a live again at some stage to give you a lot more ideas. So thank you for your company this afternoon as well. I know I've kept you that little bit longer, so I shall let you get back to your afternoons. If you do get your pick of the week and you do manage to have a play, again, share your ideas into the group as well. We'd love to see them. So I shall leave that with you there today. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone, and I shall see you all again soon.